and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a beautiful day so far. So today's video is just going to be a Q&A. I asked you guys on Instagram if you guys had any questions on self-love. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing in this video, just answering all those questions. By the way, we're ignoring the fringe. I'm trying to grow it out because I want like a... Okay, so the first question we have here is, what differences did you notice in your daily life after beginning your self-love journey? The main thing that I noticed was like the willingness to be there for myself. And you know, like the self-love journey is just like a never-ending process in my opinion. But since doing all the work that I've done over the past 4 or 5 years, I've really noticed that, you know, if I'm having a low day or if I'm having triggers arise or something like that, I'm much more willing and open to be gentle with myself and to be able to hold myself. Whereas like in the past, if I would have a low day or if feelings of like jealousy or unworthiness would arise, I would just like get so engrossed in a torrent of negativity towards myself, like a torrent of just like, you're not good enough, no one likes you, you're the worst person in the world, you know, that kind of stuff. What is the best first step to begin your self-love journey? I feel like the best first step is to like make the decision, like make the real and grounded conscious choice that like I'm sick of hating myself, like I'm ready, you know. And once you kind of anchor that decision in, once you realize all the ways that you've been hurting yourself, the rest of the self-love process like naturally comes to you because you've made that decision and now you can hold yourself accountable when you're not, you know, adhering to that decision. So that's the best first step, is to just like it's like this real like oomph decision. It's this really empowering decision to make for yourself, and you can make that like right this second. You know, you can decide right now that you're sick of hating yourself, you're sick of beating yourself up, and you want to do better for yourself and you want to be a better person. Like, you have the choice to do that. And although the journey might be really rough or turbulent or no matter what it is, you've made that decision and you're already doing better than you were yesterday because you made that decision. I've got like a little chart that I want to put on the screen here. It's like what we want healing to look like versus what healing actually looks like. But that first point, like the only reason you progress from that first point is because you make the decision to like start treating yourself with kindness and self-compassion. You know, so that's my first step. How to stay strong with self-love when repeatedly met with unkindness from family. Okay, this question to me is sending me boundaries vibes. I would suggest, yeah, being really firm in your boundaries, and you know, if a family member, and you know, this is subject to variability as well, because there are some family situations that are unsafe, where it's not safe to say, I'm setting a boundary, you know what I mean? So boundaries are basically about affirming the way that you want to be treated. And it can be so hard with family members, because especially if you're living at home, which I'm assuming you do, it's like really hard to escape, you know, that environment, you know? So I guess the best way to set those boundaries with your family members is to have a one-on-one conversation with them, or to set up a space, and this sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Set up a space like in your house that's your sacred space, or even be it like a local park where you can go if things start to get turbulent, you know, and where you can just like lock yourself in your room and just be in your own space. Another thing that I'd suggest you look into, this is in my course, but there's also lots of other free resources on it on YouTube, is nonviolent communication. It's a way of communicating boundaries that aims to prevent like a defensive or reactionary response, and it's a way of communicating your needs that is non-violent and also really clearly gets your needs and the way you feel across. So I'll put some resources for that in the description bar. But yeah, I would say boundaries, and I would say internal boundaries as well, like choosing what comments you let in. And talking about that with a trusted loved one, a therapist, writing it out, journaling it out, I feel could also be very helpful for you. How do I let go and just dance? Okay, I had like a few dancing questions, so And this was the most common one. My advice for you is to, one, make sure that you're in a safe space. Make sure that the space you're in, like you're either home alone or you are in an environment where you're not going to be disturbed, even just for a little while. Another suggestion that I have for you is to actually start your dance movement with something really subtle. So whether it just be like moving your hands a little bit, or moving your feet, just starting your dance practice with really little movements and just learning what it feels like to be in your body, and then eventually like building it up until your whole body is dancing with you. That's a more subtle approach to the dance movement stuff, like rather than just jumping in head first. So I do recommend that. Another way which could help you is by practicing yoga. There's heaps of free resources on YouTube, or there's also classes like pretty much everywhere in the world. Doing yoga or doing, you know, those kind of practices that bring you really into your body may help to release some of the tension or the shame that you might be feeling that prevents you from just letting go and having a book. How do you begin a self-love journey when you're depressed? So much love for you, Freya. Thank you. So much love for you too. Yes, been there, done that. So I'm gonna tell you what worked for me. I would suggest, like, if you are experiencing unmanageable depression, to reach out to see a therapist. There's online resources for therapy, there's in-person resources for therapy. In Australia, you can get up to 10 sessions for free. So with depression, it's like the chunkier self-love and self-care stuff like feels really overwhelming and unmanageable to do, because it's like you can't even like get out of bed. You know what I mean? So it's like, how are you going to get up and dance? My main tips for starting to find self-love: start noticing like the little things first. Microscopic, tiny things inside of each moment. Be it when you're looking out your window, you notice leaves blowing in the breeze and what they look like. Whether it be the little patch of sunlight that comes into your room at 10 a.m. Be it the way that your sheets feel on your skin. Starting to allow yourself to open up to like little sensory movements, sensory experiences, because that will help you be more grounded and more present in your body, rather than when you're depressed, generally, and this is in my experience, all of this, generally what I would feel would be like a numbness or a dissociation, or just like I don't know how to explain it to you guys. It's just like, just real numbness and heaviness. Whereas when you start to notice those little tiny things, even the way that, you know, like I was saying with that earlier question, when you dance, you can just dance like this. You know, you can do that from bed, just welcoming in small and little moments and movements. Yeah, some of the easiest things that I found to feel more loving when I was depressed would be to listen to music. That was something that was always available to me, always accessible to me. I've got a little playlist from the course that I've actually made public that I'm going to put in the description bar. It's called the Gentleness playlist, and it's songs to listen to when you want to treat yourself with more self-compassion, excuse me, and you want to be more gentle. Another thing that I feel is really useful, actually, and this is something that I use personally a lot, is whenever I'm feeling really dark or depressed, like I'll just hug myself and I'll just say, "It's okay, sweetheart, it's okay." And kind of just utter words of really like nurturing comfort to me and to my inner child as well. What do you do a day after a mental breakdown? Do you take a break or try to move on? It depends on the breakdown. Like, it depends on the severity of the breakdown. It depends how I feel afterwards. Like, there's some breakdowns where I'm like, the next day I'm like, woo, I'm clear, let's go, let's do this, and I'm like really onto it. But there's some breakdowns that are like quite jarring, and I wake up the next day and I'm feeling a little bit like sensitive. So I guess what I would first do is like feel into my body, check in, see how I'm feeling, if I'm feeling dissociated or if I'm feeling present, if I'm feeling sensitive or if I'm feeling strong. Like, just suss out like what I'm feeling and what's going on. And then from there, make my decision. Like, always checking with my body first and then see how I'm feeling. I really like this question. How can I forgive others if I can't even forgive myself? How to forgive myself for all the hard things? Okay, I'm just gonna preface this answer to the question by saying like what I believe forgiveness is and what the forgiveness that I work with is. So forgiveness in my eyes is a way of releasing resentment and malice towards either a person that hurt you or towards actions that you've done in the past. It's not saying that what happened was okay. It's not justifying anything, but it is letting go of the need to hate. I find it really interesting that you said like I can't forgive myself, because I feel like that's where you need to start. Like for me, forgiveness is a process of forgiving myself is a process of self-compassion. It's a matter of understanding that I'm not the same person that I was. I'm not making the same decisions that I used to, and that I've grown and changed and evolved, and that I'm going to continue to grow and change and evolve, even through the mistakes that I'm making now. We're all human. We all fuck up. We all hurt people. That's just what happens, you know? And if we all felt, you know, so guilty about everything that we've ever done, there would just be no room to grow and to let go of like old versions of ourselves. I would suggest going through a process of journaling and being really clear on what it is that you're feeling guilty about, what you're not forgiving yourself for, and going through like a process of forgiveness with that. I have a workshop in the course, but just as like a brief example of what that could look like, you could journal about what happened, like really process it and get it out. And then at the end of the journaling, you could burn the sheet of paper, for example, and say, I release myself from blame and shame. I forgive, I forgive, I forgive. I believe in order to forgive yourself, you need to understand that you were doing the best you could with what you were given. The actions that you took were A, in the past, and B, the result of your conditioning or the result of your insecurity. And C, that you're not going to be that person forever. That you're not that person even now because you're acknowledging that what you did was wrong. So if you can go through a process of accountability, making amends if and where possible, and forgiving yourself and allowing yourself to let go, like that is going to be revolutionary for you. And I also wanted to just like double reiterate here that forgiveness does not mean that you have to welcome someone back into your life. Forgiveness does not mean that you have to say, what you did was great. Because like, it's probably not great. Like whatever they did to hurt you, like it hurt you. So holding them accountable for that, but also saying, I'm going to release myself from blame and shame for me. Like I want this cord to be cut for me, for my personal freedom, so that I am able to welcome in more love rather than being preoccupied with resentment or malice. How to stop thinking everybody, even your loved ones, is judging you. Love you, and I love you too, thank you. This is a really interesting question that I get a lot, and that I honestly think about a lot too, because there's some times in my life where I'm like, where I can feel like people are judging me. You know, even though I've done 5 freaking years of self-love work and I am in a really good place with myself, you know, this is just something that comes up for me. I actually like find it really healing to move into a space of vulnerability. And this is like totally situational. You know, this might not be applicable for you, this might not be the best thing ever. But if I am insecure and if I feel like one of my best friends, for example, is judging me, and by the way, none of my best friends are in toxic cycles, none of them are continuously bringing me down, stuff like that. Just thought I'd add that in there. So if I feel like a friend of mine is judging me, like I'll just be like, hey, I'm feeling really insecure at the moment, and the voice inside my head is telling me that you're judging me for X, Y, Z. And I just wanted to share that with you because, you know, I'm feeling a little bit insecure at the moment, and generally what will happen is my friends will be like, the fuck? No, we weren't. You know what I mean? Or they'll say something along the lines of, I'm sorry, I was. It's because this made me feel insecure and then I projected that, you know? So another thing to do is to be wildly, authentically yourself, to the point where you're so you that you just can't help it. Like you can't help but be yourself. And acknowledging that because you can't help but be who you are, you can't help what other people think about you. Another thing that I find really interesting to remember is like, do you like everyone? Do you like every single person on earth? Probably not. So why do you expect every single person on earth to like you? What's really interesting is that when you're being authentically yourself, The people that vibe with you the most will be around you and they will love you unconditionally. And the people that don't vibe with you so much, they might judge you. They might be jealous. They might project onto you, you know? And I think it's also really awesome to understand that when people do judge, it's from a place of insecurity within themselves. And then we can go through all the forgiveness and the self-compassion and the understanding that comes from that. So knowing that when someone's judging you, it's not a true reflection of yourself, it's more of a reflection of them. And also going through some journaling or something really vulnerable that gets this like feeling out of you. So just being like, I'm feeling like this person's judging me, or this and this, and this is coming from this. Asking yourself, what's underneath this? Why am I feeling like everyone is judging me? Is there a deeper issue that needs to be addressed that's making me feel like people are judging me? Do I feel afraid to be myself? Do I feel afraid to be authentic? In summary, have a vulnerable conversation where applicable. Journal, go into a process of self-inquiry and figure out where this fear is coming from. Be absolutely authentically yourself. 4, understand that other people's judgments of you are reflections of them, not a reflection of you. What do you do when you feel really bad about yourself, when you're just having one of those days? I be gentle. I'm gentle with myself. I go into a process of tenderness and self-compassion, and then after that I do preventative self-care stuff. So basically what that is, being gentle with yourself is about being kind to yourself when you're feeling really low, not beating yourself up, not being like, I'm not doing self-love right, I'm not doing anything right, yada yada, just being like, I'm having a low day and that's okay. And taking the day really slow, doing the preventative self-care stuff like journaling, dancing, yoga, whatever feels good for you. Like have a toolkit of all of your preventative self-care stuff. Hitomi has a really beautiful video of this. I'm going to put that in the description bar. I don't know why I'm pointing to it, like I'm going to put it on there. We all know I'm not bothered to do those overlay things. Having a toolkit of preventative self-care coping mechanisms that you can fall back on when you're having those loaded days. For example, some of my preventative self-care stuff looks like journaling, going for a walk, having a bath, cleaning my room, having a shower, yeah, just ensuring that you're not beating yourself up, and anytime any of those thoughts come into your head, like you're not doing good enough, you just say, I'm doing the best I can. How do you do self-love when you have no energy or motivation to do anything? Brackets, even a bath. I love that. Well, I don't love that, but I love that you put in brackets, even a bath. Okay, so this is kind of similar to what I was saying in the last question. It's like those moments when you feel so hopeless and numb that it's so hard to do anything. I've had those days where I just wake up and I'm like, I can't meditate, I can't do yoga, I can't even fucking do anything, bro. My suggestion would be to have a journal next to your bed or have a book next to your bed, putting on some calming music or putting on some gentle music or putting on some happy music, whatever feels right for you, and just holding yourself and just saying, I've got you, we're gonna make it through this. I've got you, I love you, it's okay, sweetheart. And just really reaffirming that you've got yourself. And I'm trying to remember, like I know that it's hard in the moment, but try and remember like all of those times where you've made it through these days. So I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I hope that it's been helpful for some of you. I wanted to do a little shameless course plug because it's very exciting. I released the course this week, even though the video will be coming out next week, I believe. Basically, my course, the Love Club, is an online course all about self-acceptance and self-love. It guides you through 5 different sections, and it's recommended to do it over 5 weeks, but it is completely self-paced. The first section is introspection. It's all about shadow work and navigating emotions and learning how to, be present and accepting of yourself in these really low days. Section 2 is gentleness. It's all about self-compassion, forgiveness, being kind to yourself, and inner child work. Section 3 is the empowerment section. It's all about sensuality, self-confidence, courage, and authenticity. Section 4 is higher self. It's all about trust, opening your heart, becoming connected to the best version of yourself. And finally, section 5 is the self-care section. It is all about preventative self-care, integration, boundaries, and being the best you can be there for yourself. That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean though, right? If you guys want to check out a Love Club, the link is in my bio, and if cost isn't accessible for you at the moment, that's totally okay. We do payment plans and we also have scholarship positions. So if you have not the funds at all, you can apply for a scholarship position and there'll be 5 people that get to do the course for free. Alright, I love you all so much and thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I will see you next time.